Hello everyone and welcome back to Chalice of Love. Today we are going to talk more about the book, this book that we've been working in and learning so much from it, the Christ's Letters. And today we have an intuition from Sananda to read parts of this book, the letter number 4 and letter number 7, about a terrible sexual tendency that the world is going through. So, if you're ready, well, let's begin. Hello, my loved one. Amazing people, how are you? Well, I'm Sheila, and today we have one more study about the letters of God, the Christ's Letters book. And Sandan has asked me to have a deep study in this book, and I'm gonna let you be ready because I'm having an intuition. And I was reading and reading, and he was telling me a little bit more, a little bit more. So we have a lot of stuff today. And there are topics that are extremely important to us, for our learning and growing. And I'm studying a lot, and I'm learning so much with this book. I feel that every time that I read this book, I learn new things. So if this video is long or too long, just take a little break and come back to it. Because this is not just, it's really important, but also there's so much details and learning teachings, lessons in this book. Because we still have not really a clarity of what he's trying to bring, but when I feel that when we are connected with the light will free us. So I will bring topics from the letter number 7. I'm not going to bring the whole thing because it's a lot of information there. And letter 4, and that's what he said. Yeah, there's an order when he talk about this, a very clear way of teaching. And he said it needs to be in this order. And he said, I am life, the truth, and the way. So that is an explanation about when he mentioned that. We're not going to the whole context of this. And again, if you don't have this book, I definitely suggest for you to buy the Christ's letters. She's saying that she left the link for you to buy on her page. And before we go into this learning, these teachings, I want to say that first, I am very touched to see that we have 36 days of our channel, YouTube channel, and we have 72 people that have signed up, and 2,100 and I lost the number, but right there, visualization. The people came to see the videos, and I'm really happy. I'm thankful to be part of this channel, for me to learn and also for me to bring this knowledge to you. And how much do we need this knowledge? And I was thinking 2,188 visualization. What if all these people have been signed and following us, following our channel? We have 73 already. It's wonderful. But I'm saying that if you are not yet following us on the channel, please do. Because every single day we have new new teachings for us. And I am opening the book, looking at paragraph, and reading. It's a everyday reading that I post. It's challenging, but this is the journey that I decided to take, to give myself to God and to be used by God, because it's so deep. I lost my words to bring, because it's really deep to me. First, for me to have the chance to learn, to know how we are in this heavy body, and also to decide that this is a path that I have decided to be on this path, helping the humanity, to be helping every human being in this planet, but not just the planet Earth, but also the universe. And I remember when I started having my awakening, I remember one situation when I was a child, and sometimes people ask, "Oh, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And I said, I remember one time I said, "I want to save the world. I want to save the world." A child with that in mind already. So I already feel blessed to God, very, very thankful for it. For me to be here, so gratitude to all of you. So let's start going here to the studies that we need to have. In Sananda, Jesus is asking. So like I said, it's not a small reading, that's a more dense reading, but it's really important for us. So he asked me to read a little bit, a specific part on number 4, and then move on. So let's go. Starts like this. You have been told that you must not commit adultery. But I tell you that when you desire your neighbor's wife or husband, you are making a picture in your thoughts which will affect the thinking of your neighbor's wife or husband. He or she will begin to think about you in the same way, or will feel uncomfortable in your company, feeling your sexual needs, and will avoid you in the future. What is in your mind will certainly come into being in the world. So do not fool yourself that you can daydream and conjure of pictures pleasing yourself, in which will damage no one else. For this reason, for pornography, literature is truly a blasphemous. This, and of course, it's also being, it is a sexual surge, deliberately whipping up sexual appetite, releasing through lustful courage, deliberately whipping up sexual appetite, releasing through. Well, I think I read that already, but I'm going to continue. Men that told suffering and misery in your bodies, minds, and emotions of a female young that you have prepared and presently doing has helped bring your civilization to its present edge of destruction. Rest assured that the day of reckoning will come for you who publish and distribute the print sickness, and it will and will come for those who use it to arouse themselves.
Então vamos lá agora.
So that's a lot of information there,
Para
but let's continue for the other part that he mentioned here. No, that is my rooster.
Eu vou comentar uma coisa aqui.
Sorry.
Ocorreu aqui, ó.
All right, let's continue.
Se a gente não presta atenção nos nossos pensamentos,
I have described,
tudo que nós
well, let me
coloca aqui,
mention
tudo que
something
nós
here real quick.
pensamos,
If you don't
gera
pay attention to our
sentimento
thoughts,
que é uma energia
everything
e que chega na pessoa. Seja
Everything that we
coisa
think
boa, seja de coisa ruim.
creates emotion and feelings,
E é quando
and
ele
that
fala
goes
aqui
to
no
the
livro,
destination connected with that
2000 anos
thought.
atrás, quando ele veio como
If it's
Jesus,
good
ele
or
veio
bad,
para ensinar
everything that we
física
think.
quântica.
And
A
that is when
linguagem
he's
das
saying
pessoas naquela época não
that
captava.
2,000 years
Mesmo
ago,
assim, elas
when he
não
came as
conseguiam.
Jesus,
Nem os
he
discípulos
came
dele.
to teach quantum physics
E que ele
on the
volta
language
para
that people will
cartas,
understand
não só
at that
através das
time.
cartas.
But
Ele,
even then, they
inclusive,
were
em
not
um dos
able to
capítulos aqui,
understand,
ele
even
fala,
his disciples.
e ocorreu isso hoje,
So now he comes
gravar
back
um
throughout
vídeo
this
falando
book,
disso, que ele
but not only to
entendia,
this book, but
há
it's
2000
actually
anos
one of
atrás,
those
ele já sabia
one of the
que
parts
ele
of the
ia
book,
enviar os seus
and I will have to record another video talking about that. That he will, he said
velhas almas
that he will be sending
que iam levar a mensagem
his missionaries,
para de leste a
old
oeste,
souls.
para
That's how he put it in the
atingir
book.
o mundo inteiro.
Old souls that would be
Então, é extremamente
teachings,
importante
his lessons
aprender isso, porque
from east to
de
west
forma íntima,
to the world.
começa com o controle do seu pensamento.
So it's extremely important for us to learn
É no domínio do
that
seu
our
pensamento,
personal
domínio
reform,
das suas
the
emoções
personal
e a
change
energia.
controls your
E aí
thoughts.
depois eu vou
That
posso
with the,
gravar um vídeo
when you
com
can
vocês
control
como
your
faz isso,
thoughts,
porque eu faço muito isso.
you control your emotions and then the
Eu
energy.
treino as pessoas, né?
And I also will read about this in another book or in another video,
Tenho descrito
because it's also here in the book, and I also train people how to do this in another opportunity. But let's go back to the book.
os mais sublimes.
I have described the process, the path along which you will travel to achieve your most sublime and perfect heart desires. And so I say to you, I thought this letter might be difficult to accept at first. It will require time and effort to fully understand. It is a strong link between your consciousness and mine.
Nesta carta, ele fala que
So I'm going to talk a little bit about this
começa a trabalhar os seus pensamentos.
because we're not going to read this. So he's saying that the connection between his consciousness and
Então ele fala,
our consciousness. So how can you start working on this? Control it.
trabalhará na sua
Is
consciência
calling him. So he said, call me,
que você precisa para se
and my consciousness
para você fazer a sua
will work on your
Então,
consciousness,
conforme a pessoa vai lendo este livro,
connecting and enlightening everything that you need to transform and to make your personal change, your personal transformation.
na primeira
So
vez, na
Christ's consciousness will work with your consciousness. And this truly happened
parágrafo
because it did happen to me.
6,
And the first time, the second time, the third time, every time I read this book,
então,
is one paragraph that I'm reading with you and this is not working.
então assim, vocês me desculpem, eu tô toda
So,
hora passando, porque realmente essa parte é muita
let's
coisa,
continue.
tá?
I'm sorry that I'm passing, but it's so much thing, okay?
Permanecer no estado de consciência que existe neste momento no mundo e ficar em uma constante descida para inúmeras
To remain with the worldwide state of a consciousness as it exists this moment is to remain on a steady downward slide into countless disease, misfortunes, and deepest suffering. Men and women can live in two dimensions of existence in your world, either exclusively from a level of ego impulse, which are the controlling forces behind the within all the daily phenomena, which comprise the human daily experience, or mentally, emotionally poised with the divine consciousness, which their bodies are still living in the earthly plane. So what is he saying here? That it's possible for you be here and live in both worlds, or you can be only living here in earth with your ego, or you live mental and emotional connected with the divine consciousness, even being here. The fruit of your ego consciousness are discords, disruption, climatic upheavals, and abnormalities, wars, addictions, every kind of poverty, disease, murder, robbery, lying, cheating, slandering, backbiting, low miserable thoughts, evil thoughts, angry thoughts, bad humors, judgmentalism, criticism, sarcasm, rejections of other people, etc. Those consciousness frequencies are forever bringing forth mirror reflections of the circumstances and feeling reactions which gave them birth and are continually sub the high and the lows of fulfillments of expansions and disappointments, swinging between happiness and misery. Those who taught prayer, meditation, self-discipline, and determination managed to purify their consciousness and ego and lift by the defining and entertaining over more sincerely loving thoughts towards others individual and to the world in general. Gradually ascend in consciousness to the vibrationary frequencies of the real and divine consciousness, the kingdom of heaven. When they allow themselves to be drawn down into selfish disputes and any negative human condition involve any of other attributes of ego, the peace disappears and they find themselves trapped into the consciousness frequencies of vibrations which are fed by similar consciousness frequencies of other people in the environment. Why I'm reading this part now? Because this part right now is going to explain what I'm going to read now, because like attract like. So these thoughts, this ego thoughts, consciousness brings these thoughts. So this letter brings a lot about the energy, about your thoughts that your thought generates, and how much we all have to clean and to call the Christ consciousness to achieve this balance with your consciousness and the Christ consciousness of your being. So, well, let's go. When I was on earth, I made this offer repeated, but it was never understood. And that's what I said. What is born from the flesh is flesh, and of the spirit, spirit. It means that some people have a natural spiritual ability to return to the original frequency of spiritual emotional consciousness in which they were conceived, and in later years can be reborn, taking new spiritual mental awareness in the same spiritual frequency of vibration of the conception, and therefore live and evolve and work from it. The original frequency of your spiritual emotional consciousness of a conception will become the platform for the child's spiritual journey. I'm going to talk about this because I have studied a lot about this. So he's going to be saying, and he's going to be saying here on this letter about the conception, right at the moment when the conception happens. So he puts right here that in the moment of the conception, the energy that it's in the moment of the conception, it's what makes the way that you're going to live, involve, and work through it after that. So and this from that point on that people will evolve. So those conceived only of flesh lustful desire find it difficult to perceive any truth beyond the evidence of their ears, eyes, touch, and smells. If you doubt the foregoing, pause and reflect on the undeviating principle of existence. All creation is consciousness made visible. Every living thing only thinks and acts out of the level of spiritual ego consciousness in which they reside. So what I was trying to say is that everything is consciousness. So at the moment of conception, the moment of the creation of the conception is molded based on the consciousness of the man and the woman. So if that being was at the moment of conception, that sex relation was just a desire, no love involved, the person will have a hard time to see the truth, and because they feel they are restricted to only four ways of understanding, right? Smell, touch, eyes, and ears. So before conception takes place, the sperm is imbued with the total consciousness of the male, the future father, and the ovum is imbued with the total consciousness of the female and the mother. During intercourse, changes take place in the mental and emotional consciousness of the man and the woman. They might sense a deep love, caring, the drive to express their longing for greater closeness and harmony of the spirit that is true spiritual physical union. Alternatively, as their desire for union with each other changes to an over stronger desire for self-satisfaction, this becomes an ego activity, reaping only ego reactions. However, whatever the condition of consciousness of the participants in the act of union, the consciousness of desires to achieve the ultimate climax. Striving drives the physical organs to move in a rhythm, producing psychic energy which gradually rise up to the brain, creating a higher and higher momentum of vibrational energy to reach a peak
e de gloriosa
of near delirium
E então segue
and
na
delight,
liberação
bursting
uma
into
gradual
explosion of
descida
momentary
até a consciência
ecstasy and glorious fulfillment.
no momento
And
do
then
delírio e
follows
prazer, a
release and a
consciência
gradual
humana eleva-se
descend
para
into a human
tocar
consciousness again.
a força vital
At the
divina.
very moment of delirium delight, the human
Desperta
consciousness
o glória do
rise
homem
touch the
e o
divine
homem
life
da
force,
mulher. Pode ser que não ocorra a
which
concepção
ignites
e o espermatozoide
the
e
sperm
o óvulo
in the
voltem
male
à consciência
and the
física.
ovum of the woman,
Mas
in the
quando
woman.
ocorre a concepção, o
Conception may not take
espermatozoide
place,
penetra o
and
óvulo
both sperm
e ele
and
se
ovum
une nas
returns to the
supremas
normal
vibrações
physical
da vida
consciousness.
divina. Em uma fusão
When
física
conception
e
takes place,
espiritual,
the sperm
uma
penetrates to the
unidade de
ovum and they are
consciência, mas
united
também
in the highest vibration of divine
em seu
life.
próprio momento
Excuse me.
de equilíbrio e
In spiritual and physical fusion,
acordarem-se
in unite
na vida
consciousness,
divina em si.
they too ascend into their own moment of equilibrium and joy to become one
Esse
both
momento
with the divine
milhão
life
de consciência
itself and
ligar
human
à
father-mother
mais alta
consciousness.
dimensão da consciência
This
divina
moment of a consciousness union
é
takes
um
place with
momento
the
de
very
júbilo e
highest
alegria.
dimension of the divine life consciousness.
Pois os dois elementos,
And it is a
masculino e
moment
feminino,
of
estão de novo
unimaginable
unidos
rejoicings and joy.
e os
For
dois
those two elements of male and female
fazendo
are
assim
again conjoined, united,
para gerar
and merged in equilibrium to
esse
become
momento
one
de
to
união
produce a child.
é uma
This moment
construção
of union
do regresso
is
de
a
uma pessoa ao êxtase glorioso
reenactment
e inefável da
of a
consciência
person
divina
return
e equilíbrio universal.
to the glorious and ineffable
Quando o ato sexual
ecstasy
é motivado pelo amor
of the
puro,
divine
sincero,
consciousness of universal
mulher, a
equilibrium.
consciência humana unida
When
eleva-se
intercourse
novamente.
is
A relação
prompted,
sexual a
prompted
níveis cada vez mais
by a
altos,
pure heart love
altas
between man
vibrações
and
de
woman,
consciência,
the united human
aqueles
consciousness ascends,
nas
doing
frequências
intercourse
vibratórias
into higher and higher levels of consciousness, vibrational frequencies,
a criança concebida
until they are
nessas
caught up
circunstâncias
into the vibrational frequencies of the divine intelligence, love,
quando
consciousness.
eles verdadeiramente amam,
Such a child conceived in such a circumstance is born of spirit.
pois essa relação
Lovers know
sexual
when they truly love and come to each other in pure tenderness.
que persiste em
And
seu
love
coração,
becomes such intercourse
tornando
in a moment of union of mind, emotions, and body,
de uma beleza
and lingers in their consciousness afterwards, making it difficult for them to draw apart from each other. They are aware of a transcendent beauty and renewal of emotional love instead of satisfaction,
estão unidos
and an
pela consciência de
encompassing harmony.
tem mais
Encompassing harmony.
Uau!
Those men and women are joined by divine consciousness.
Quando eu leio isso, aparecem mais coisas para mim.
There's more stuff coming. Wow.
Me veio uma coisa aqui,
Are you guys
compartilhar
getting
com
it?
vocês.
Because every time I read this, it's like so many things happening.
Mas criada não, né?
And one thing actually came for me to share with you.
Nós estamos lendo agora.
Get a little break
Porque ele pediu para falar disso que aconteceu comigo agora.
for us to
Isso é uma
think
prova
of what we are reading now.
do pensamento, da
Because he asked me to talk about
relação
what happened to me.
com Deus.
Because this is a
Percebe que
proof
em nenhum momento ele fala essa palavra Deus.
in the questions of energy and thoughts and trust
Eu fui pegar o livro
and connection with
eu
God.
já falei aqui em um dos vídeos que eu já
And you see that in He doesn't say God here.
Ultimamente,
It
eu tô
just
tendo
says
dificuldade para ler. Ano
consciousness,
passado,
divine
eu não lia.
consciousness. And I have said here in
Esse
other
cuidado que eu
videos that
tive com
I
o
did
livro.
a surgery
E
in
aí
my
eu chamei
eyes,
ele, porque eu aprendi a
and I
chamar
was
ele.
having because I was having a
Ele,
hard
Senhor,
time to read.
me chama. Eu chamei, sai
And he
daqui.
asked me to read, and I was not able to read
Eu não
anything.
estou enxergando.
So I learned how to
Você
call
pede para
him
eu ler e eu não estou enxergando.
because
Então
he
me dá
cheats right
licença.
here. Call me.
E
So I
aí,
called him. I said, Sananda,
ele
help me
assim,
now because I'm not able to
Senhor,
see.
eu não tinha almoçado
You
ainda,
ask
eu
me
quero
to read,
almoçar.
and I cannot read.
E quando você voltar, você vai ler. Eu fui
So
almoçar,
it came to my
peguei o
mind.
livro para ler e eu estou lendo para
I
você.
haven't had my lunch yet, so I'm gonna go have my lunch. And when I come back, you're gonna be able to read.
E eu fico até emocionada.
So I went eat, and I came back, grabbed my book to read, and now I'm reading to you.
A força do nosso pensamento e da
And I'm emotional again.
confiança que nós podemos ter, a nossa entrega total, a consciência de
The power of our thoughts is
Deus
in the connection and the trust that we can have.
traz esse tipo, né,
You know, our giving ourselves in
exemplos.
total
Então vamos
to God
continuar. Eu falei que tinha bastante
brings
exemplos,
this
né?
kind of a connections and situations
E assim, olha,
and
gente, tá
examples.
sendo uma conversa com vocês.
So let's continue.
Eu não sou,
We still have a lot of stuff, right?
tá bom?
And it's like I'm having a conversation with you right here. Just like a
Tristemente,
conversation. So
a consciência
thank you.
egocêntrica pessoal pode contaminar o amor que sentiam um pelo outro. E
Sadly,
gradualmente,
the personal ego consciousness can eventually
os amantes
taint
separados
the love
só
they felt for each other and
física
gradually,
e emocionalmente
largely
distanciados,
replace it,
perguntando
leaving them
por quê
separately
belo
and alone.
e exaltado estado
Sad
de amor
and
pode
emotional,
sumir
physically
e morrer.
weakened.
É uma
Wondering why such a beauty,
oportunidade ter vivido, né?
such a beautiful, exalted
Essas
state of
cartas
love
podem
could
ser um meio pelo qual os
dwindle
amantes
and die.
superem seu impulso egocêntrico
There's a lot of things happening in our humanity,
e
right?
seu amor diante
These letters can be
nível
the means
ainda
of
mais
their
elevado
overcoming
espiritual.
overcoming the ego
Nesse
drive
momento, o
and
homem
rediscovering their
se tornou
previous
mais
love
íntegro
and even higher and more spiritual
Isso
level,
pode ou não reuni-los
in which
numa
case
nova
man and
relação
woman will
sexual
become more
que
whole
transcende
than
qualquer
ever
outro
before.
mundo,
This may or not
dependendo
may
do seu estado de
bring
consciência,
them together
se eles
in a new sexual
tenham
attraction,
transcendido em si
transcending
o
all other
desejo
depending
da união física.
on their
Outro
state
desafio.
of consciousness,
Vamos lá.
whether it has itself transcended the desire for physical
A
fusion.
união física
I'm
realizada
gonna read another
com
part
qualquer
here.
outra
Let's go.
emoção leva à condição de carne entrando em carne.
Physical
Não é
union,
mais do
union
que receber
undertaking
e dar
in any other emotion
vibratórias
leads to
plenas,
condition of flesh
frequentemente negativas,
entering flesh
que
and
produzem
it's but
uma
receiving
clone de
and
mente
giving of
semelhante a
earthly
tal tipo de
frequency
mente.
negatively
Ainda que
negative
não se conceba
vibrational
isso,
frequencies
essa relação
producing
sexual é
like-minded
prejudicial para os parceiros,
progeny
uma
of
vez que
such
ocorre
of a
uma
union.
mútua
Even if a child
troca
is
e
not
absorção
conceived,
de
such
energia
intercourse is
do
detrimental to both
da
partners,
consciência do corpo
since there is an exchange of absorption
ou
of
crítico
each other consciousness
causar
energy
danos
into the body,
profundos.
which,
Lembre-se
if
que a
negative,
energia da consciência
hostile,
é composta de
or critical,
eletromagnetismo.
can be damaged
E aqui ele explica
to
sobre o
one another.
eletromagnetismo, que é
Remember that consciousness energy is
relativo.
compound
Então,
of
perceba
father
aqui que numa relação
intelligence
sexual,
and mother love, electromagnetism.
vinculada a essa questão aqui de carne entrando em carne,
So I feel that what he's putting here is that during a relationship, a sexual relation,
tipo, não está na luz,
when
e
it's
tudo
connected with just the desire of sex. It's basically the impulse of your ego. It's negative, it's not in the light, and everything that it's in your energy will be shared with the other ones. So the energy of the person from one to the other. The energy exchange between sexual partners is one of the same energy of our which the maternal, electrical, and emotional magnetic fields of the body are formed. All its consciousness. Therefore, the consciousness energies within body fluids and mental emotional attitudes and thoughts are exchanged and all absorbed of are each of you affecting the mental, emotional, physical condition of partner. So when these things happen, everything goes to the other energy, to the other person. This bad energy, destruction. Basically, personal reform, sexual reform. Friends, I'm going through this. I'm going through this right now. I've been able to achieve a lot of stuff, but I still continue to go through this. It's a change. It's to do all of this here. And this is what he's saying, since after the conception, it's already bringing this idea of the spirits, not the desire of sex, but the spiritual. So you have to go through all of these thoughts, feelings, and action. Thoughts, feelings, and action. You gotta be every single day watching your emotions. Even before you go to sleep, you have to go through prayer and meditation. He says here too, we're not going to go through this, but there's a lot of stuff to say. Because praying and meditation, you need to find this. You can do through the book, or you have other ways of doing it. It's all good. Use whatever you like it. Intercourse should be a healthy and life-giving, only be undertaken in a true heartfelt love, where the good of the loved one is more important than the good of the lover. Let me do it again. Intercourse should be a healthy and life-giving, only be undertaken in a heartfelt love, where the good of the loved one is more important than the good of the lover. So the person that I love is more important than me. So basically, the good of the person that I love is more important than mine. It should never be used to heal. This is extremely important. It should not be used to heal rifts or wounds. Intercourse might be a joyous act undertaken after a difference of opinion and anger, where there has been sincere mutual forgiveness and a full restoration of and renewed love for each other, but never to cover the hurts of affects and false sense of emotional receptive in the other partner. No doubt, such intercourse will give them a temporary sense of well-being and transcend goodwill, since their consciousness energy will have been lifted into higher vibrational frequencies, but this is a temporary elevation of their personal consciousness only. When partners go to each other,
qual o parceiro não é
still
completamente
bearing hidden
contudo, a
resentment
relação vai se
or critical
desgastando
denigrating thoughts about each other, about the other, those negative consciousness form are transmitted into the electromagnetic field, and the partner are created sense of inner disturbance, which the partner is not fully aware. Nevertheless, the relationship is being gradually eroded without either one being fully aware that is happening. This is the reason why the physical attraction between partners dwindle and dies. It is destroyed by hidden negative critical thoughts and feelings which little by little affects each other profoundly on every level of their being.
chegar exatamente neste nível. A Matrix controla tudo, gente. Então, ele fala, claro, tem desavenças.
It's extremely important to learn this
Você conversa,
because we have, and this is all Matrix, DR,
cria e restaura o amor,
was abolished by
só cresce. Agora, quando
to get here in this level of Matrix.
pensamentos,
So he says right here, well, that is
isso vai minando a relação.
that is always fighting, but when you talk and you
Por isso que chega uma hora,
you know, and if you don't heal,
e aí chega ponto
try to reestablish that love,
que não tem conversa.
this will happen. But when in basically saying when you keep your mind, your thoughts to you and don't talk to your partners, this keeps damaging the relationship little by little. And that's why, you know, on the beginning of a relationship, everything's beautiful, but then throughout the time, they divorce and separate because they don't talk. There's no conversation. So in this book right here, it's so much details. This book is amazing because in this book he also teach how to have a lovely conversation. So in another book I can probably record this to talk a little bit about love and talks. The reading is extremely important based on the orientations that I've been having from Jesus, because the words that he is bringing here have vibrations, and his vibrations, this is his own words. It's not mine to be talking about it. So that's why I'm reading this just the way that he wants for us to read, because we also need to bring the energy of his words. Okay? So let's continue. Let's continue.
E consequentemente, os problemas se repetirão dia após dia. Quando as pessoas
As the frequencies of vibration drop, they will find themselves being drawn into the thoughts and feelings which previously drove them into arguments with other people, and consequently, the problems will be repeated day after day. When people use sex as a way to heal, it becomes a frustration and disillusionment set in, leading a loss of respect and love for each other. Therefore, it's essential for people to realize that fights are erased out of their own hidden ego consciousness, driving with gain control of their loving feelings. And the ego drives must be healed before couples can reach the new level of mutual understanding, consideration, and consistent love for each other. Not only this, but the condition of consciousness of each partner eventually affect the environment, living conditions, and successful or lack of it in their daily
Disfuncionamento
lives.
familiar
It
surge
also
também
affects the
das
children, creating a
características
family of
inatas de seus pais
mutual
e do modo como
cooperation
eles se
and
comportam
healthy
em
mental
sua
emotional
fé
partnering,
diariamente.
or
É perfeitamente
the
verdadeiro
dysfunctional
que a
family
vida
where the
familiar
mom,
é
the
fruto
member,
das
it is truly
características
sympathy
da atuação de
or
todos.
acceptance by
Porém,
the other.
quero que você
You might say that
também
the successful
reflita
or
sobre as
dysfunctional
famílias
family conditions are
disfuncionais
raised
que se
poorly
encontram.
from their
A
innate
convivência e a
characters
coabitação
and the
sexual
way
que
they
chega ao
perform
fim.
in their
Os
daily
pais que se
rules.
separam
It is
e
perfectly true
começam
that the family
vidas
life
totalmente
is
novas,
a
porque
product
eles
of a character
conseguiram
and performance.
livrar-se
But
da
I want
consciência
to
insalubre
consider that the
crítica
dysfunctional
que
family which
absorveu
breaks up,
durante o ato
that
sexual.
partnership and
Se
sexual
forem fortes o bastante para
cohabitation
fazer isso,
ends,
cada parceiro
parents
masculino
move away from
deve
each other
romper com
and
suas
move
próprias
on to
barreiras e
entirely new lives
reabrir-se
because they have
Entretanto,
managed
aqueles
to
parceiros que vivam o verdadeiro amor
disentangle themselves
recíproco,
from the
que consideram
unhealthy or
a
critical
necessidade um do
consciousness
outro,
they were
dando e
absorbing
recebendo de maneira
during the sexual
equilibrada,
act,
oferecendo
it
apoio
is strong
emocional
enough
quando
to do
necessário
so.
um
Each
ao
partner
outro, ou conselho
discovers a new
não
self, building a
advertência,
new
quando o
involvement,
outro
and
pode,
goes on
gerando
to
que
a
a
new
família
success.
está unida pela
However,
absorção
those partners who
mútua
live truly
progressiva
in
da
love with
ciência
each
de
other,
ambos.
considering each other's
Ambos
needs
os
together,
parágrafos
giving
anteriores.
and taking an
Pode-se
equal
agora
balance,
entender que o
offering
mundo não
emotional
deve
support
haver
when
um
needed,
sentimento
or
de
loving
rixa,
console,
hostilidade oculta,
do not
desprezo ou
advise. When
difamação
this
antes
is
do ato
asked
sexual.
for, we'll find
Tais
that
sentimentos
the
devem estar
family is
plenamente
glued
resolvidos antes que
together
se
by the
retornem ao passado.
absorption
Em sua
of each
relação
other's
e
dynamic
a
consciousness
discussão,
energy.
a liberdade de expressão
In the
serão
light
centros
of the previous
primordiais para
paragraphs,
cada
it might
parceiro.
now be understood that prior
Deveria
to intercourse,
existir
there
uma
should never
base de
be a
amor
sense of
passional a fim de se
grievance,
tenha
buried
construído uma poderosa força
hostility,
conjunta de amor
contempt,
sensível,
contempt,
em que a
denigration.
consciência de ambos
And such
é
feeling must be fully
genuína
resolved before
e
sex is
imutável.
resumed. In a
Com
relationship
referência ao
where
estupro,
discussion and freedom of speech is
esse é o
accepted
mais
as normal, each partner
odioso
should
ato
resist
contra o
the
outro
act of sex
e
love into
atrairá
the
ao
powerful
praticante a
interforce
sua própria
of
denúncia
responsive
consequência
love has
em
been
algum
built up,
momento no futuro.
and consciousness
Esse
have been
ato
both
procede de uma
partners
consciência
is in a
egóica
state of pure equilibrium.
especificamente corrompida e distorcida.
As for
As
rape,
frequências vibratórias de
this is the
consciência de
most
tais pessoas são
heinous
tão baixas e
heinous
pesadas que são
act against another,
autodestrutivas.
and will draw to itself its own just rewards at some times in the
Talvez agora
future.
você compreenda
It
por que
proceeds out of
a
an
tendência
especially
sexual
warped
atual
and
está
destroyed
causando
ego
as
consciousness.
mais
The
terríveis
frequencies
condições
of
no mundo inteiro.
consciousness, sorry guys, the frequencies of consciousness
Para que você
vibrations
entenda
of such
plenamente
people
agora
are
o que eu estou
so
dizendo,
low
quero que você
and
se esforce
ponderous
para
to
visualizar
be personally
e
destructed.
compreender que a
Perhaps
natureza da
you will now realize
inconsciência do equilíbrio
why the
é um
present
poder
sexual
permanente,
trends
pois
is
o
the
equilíbrio, a
words
harmonia,
causing of the most
e controle mútuo
dire
entre os impulsos
conditions
universais
worldwide.
de masculino e feminino,
For you to fully
esse
understand
amor,
that I am
a vontade de
I'm
expressar
talking
e a
about,
vontade de
I want you to
permanecer em aceitação, o
strive
anseio de
to
estar ativo
visualize,
e o de
release
empenhar-se e manter
that
o status
the nature
quo
of divine
com a
consciousness
finalidade de
of
sublimar
universal
e
equilibrium
estabelecer.
is limited power. Since an equilibrium harmony arise out of equal constraint between a universal impulse,
Essa
the male
dimensão
and the female,
é um estado
you will to
de
experience
beleza,
and
harmonia,
the will of
êxtase supremo,
remain
reverência, inteligência e amor.
acquaintances.
É isso que a Terra pode demonstrar.
the
Mas em uma escala muito além de
the
sua
yearning to be active and the yearning to hold back and maintain the status in order to form bonds
Então, o
and
que podemos
stability.
aprender com este estudo de hoje e com os que vêm
These
sendo trazidos
dimensions
aqui,
is a state of
nós
beauty,
todos
joy, harmony,
precisamos fazer
raptures,
uma troca
ecstasy,
íntima
reverence,
dos nossos
intelligence,
relacionamentos
love.
de forma
It is all that the
profundamente
earth can
íntima,
demonstrate,
porque de
but
fato
on the scale
a
beyond
humanidade está perdida
your
no céu.
even remote
Chegamos a um ponto
conception.
caótico nesse sentido e realmente precisamos urgente fazer essa reforma.
Wow.
E, gente, eu estou fazendo.
So, what can we learn with this today?
A um ponto da gente olhar,
And for other studying and learnings
vamos trazer
that are
um
being
visual que
bringed
foi ocorrendo aqui no meu pensamento.
every day is
Todos
for us
esses
to
aplicativos
think
de
into a
relacionamento,
reform
por exemplo, foi criado
in our relationship, because indeed the humanity is lost in this
incentivar a
chaotic,
promiscuidade.
and we really need
E a promiscuidade
urgently
leva à
to
destruição
make
do
this
ser.
reform.
E a promiscuidade
Friends,
vai
I'm
levando a
doing it.
humanidade à sua própria destruição. E é isso que ele coloca
It's such
aqui.
I'm in a point that
Está vendo
we
aqui
have to
nas
look.
mensagens, né?
Let's
São
bring a
vários
question
que
here
têm falado
that's
disso.
happening in my thoughts.
Acho que o Osho também trouxe uma coisa muito profunda.
All these
Então chegou
sites for relationships there. Who created that?
para começar a sua
And
reforma
motivation
sexual,
in
a sua
inspiring
reforma
what?
íntima
Promiscuity.
de relacionamentos amorosos, a sua reforma íntima
And to be
dos seus
promiscuous,
relacionamentos
this
de modo geral,
is
a sua
brings
reforma
to
íntima de
destruction.
você aprender a amar.
And that brings the humanity to their own destruction.
Amar o outro
And that's what they put here in the letters of
e
God.
amar a Deus.
And we are looking and seeing these.
Muita gratidão por
There are
vocês.
many talking about this.
Então,
I believe that Osho have also brought something related to that. So this is the time
receber
I invite you
todos esses ensinamentos de Jesus
to start
e se você
your
ainda não
reform,
segue o canal,
your intimate reform
porque você vai ajudar quando o canal estiver monetizando o projeto que nós estamos fazendo. Porque todo recurso
into a general,
vai para o projeto que nós estamos fazendo.
for you to learn how
para
to
todas as
love.
crianças e famílias
First,
que
love
passaram
yourself.
por agressões, abusos.
Love the other just like yourself. And love God above everything else. Gratitude for you to be here.
Por essa oportunidade.
So please share
Até o próximo
this with the people that you think is important.